The massive alien ship hung in space above Earth like a dark storm cloud. It was 3 times larger than any human vessel ever built, its black hull covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them. Smaller ships surrounded it, each one bristling with weapons that could turn a city into glass. Secretary General Maria Santos stood at the viewing window of the Luna station, watching the alien fleet with calm eyes. She had been expecting this day for months. Earth's rapid expansion into space had not gone unnoticed. 23 new colonies in 5 years, mining operations in 12 star systems, and trade routes that stretched across half the local sector. Humanity was growing fast, perhaps too fast for some. The communication request came through the standard diplomatic channels. Santos accepted it immediately. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a creature that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a tree. Its 4 arms moved in complex patterns as it spoke, while translation software turned its clicking sounds into human speech. "I am Ambassador Zix Thara of the Vorthak Hegemony, speaking for the Galactic Council," the creature said. Its voice was cold and formal. "We have come to discuss humanity's future in this galaxy." Santos nodded politely. "Welcome to our system, Ambassador. I am Secretary General Maria Santos, representing Earth and all human colonies. How can we help you?" The alien's mandibles clicked together in what might have been amusement. "Help us. Human, you misunderstand your position. We are here to help you understand yours." Behind Zix Thara, other aliens became visible on the communication link. Santos recognized some of the species from intelligence reports. The tall, gray ethereals with their glowing eyes, the rock-like Krathen with their massive forms, the sleek Nilari with their silver skin. 12 different species in total, all members of the Galactic Council that had ruled this part of space for over 1,000 years. For centuries, Zix Thara continued, the Council has maintained peace and order in this galaxy. We decide which species may expand, where they may settle, and how they may develop. This system has prevented countless wars and brought stability to millions of worlds. Santos listened without interrupting. She had read the intelligence files. The Council's idea of peace meant complete control. Species that refused to join were destroyed. Those that joined gave up most of their freedom in exchange for protection from threats that the Council often created themselves. "Your species has been expanding without permission," the alien said. "You have claimed systems that the Council has designated as restricted. You have built colonies without proper authorization. You have ignored our attempts to contact you through proper channels." That last part was true. The Council had sent several messages over the past year demanding that Earth send representatives to their capital world. Santos had ignored them all. Earth was not part of the Council, and she had no intention of traveling across the galaxy to bow before alien masters. "We have decided to offer you a choice," Zix Thara announced. "Join the Council under our protection, or face the consequences of your unauthorized expansion." "What would joining the Council require?" Santos asked, though she already knew the answer. The alien's 4 arms moved in a complex gesture. "First, you will surrender 80% of your outer colonies to Council administration. These worlds contain resources that are too valuable to be managed by an inexperienced species. Second, you will pay tribute to the Council treasury. We calculate that Earth can provide approximately 4 million tons of rare metals and energy, crystals annually. Third, you will accept Council oversight on all remaining human worlds. Our administrators will guide your development to ensure you do not repeat your past mistakes." Santos kept her face neutral, but inside, she felt a cold anger building. The alien was essentially demanding that humanity become slaves, give up most of their colonies, strip their home worlds of resources, and accept foreign rulers. It was not a partnership or protection. It was conquest disguised as diplomacy. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Zix Thara's mandibles clicked again. then we will be forced to take more direct action. The Council has dealt with rebellious species before. The Karathi thought they could resist our guidance. Their homeworld is now a mining operation. The Velian Federation believed their technology could protect them. We absorbed their colonies and relocated their population to work camps. The threat was clear: submit or be destroyed. Santos had no doubt that the Council could do exactly what they claimed. Earth's military was strong, but they were facing 12 advanced civilizations with technology that was centuries ahead of human science. "I understand your position," Santos said carefully. "This is obviously a decision that requires serious consideration. Our people will need time to discuss these terms." Time? The aliens seemed surprised. "Human, there is nothing to discuss. These are not terms for negotiation. This is the Council's decision on humanity's future." "Nevertheless," Santos replied, "I must insist on time to consult with my government and our colonial administrators. Surely the Council understands the importance of proper procedure in diplomatic matters." She could see the other aliens behind Zixthara moving restlessly. They were clearly impatient with human stubbornness, but Santos was counting on their arrogance. The Council saw humanity as primitive and weak. They would not expect any real resistance. "How much time do you require?" Zixthara asked, sounding annoyed. 30 Earth days, Santos said. "That is the standard diplomatic courtesy period for major decisions under human law." The aliens began clicking and buzzing to each other in their various languages. Santos waited patiently while they discussed. She could guess what they were saying. What could a primitive species do in 30 days? Humanity had barely learned to travel faster than light. They had no allies, no advanced weapons, no secret technologies. 30 days would change nothing. Finally, Zixthara turned back to the communication link. "Very well. The Council grants you 30 of your days to consider our offer. We will return then for your answer. But understand this, human. The terms will not change. Submit to Council authority or face destruction. Those are your only choices. The A." Communication ended abruptly. The alien ships began moving away from Earth, but Santos noticed they did not leave the system entirely. They took up position near the outer planets, close enough to observe but far enough to seem non-threatening. They were watching, waiting for humanity to panic and beg for mercy. Santos turned away from the viewing window and walked to her office. Her assistant was waiting with reports from the colonial governors and military commanders. Everyone wanted to know what the aliens had said and what Earth's response would be. "Cancel all my appointments for the next 2 hours," Santos told her assistant, "and get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen at Deep Space Command." As her assistant left to carry out the orders, Santos sat down at her desk and began typing a message to the colonial governors. It was time to let them know what was really happening. The Council thought they were giving humanity 30 days to accept defeat. In reality, they had just given Earth 30 days to prepare for war. But this would not be the kind of war the Council expected. They had made the mistake that many powerful empires had made throughout history. They had assumed that their enemies would fight by the same rules they did. The Council was about to learn that humans had a very different approach to warfare. Santos finished her message and sent it out on the most secure channels available. Within hours, the real work would begin. The Council wanted to see what humanity could do in 30 days. They were about to find out. 25 days had passed since the Council delivered their ultimatum to Earth. Ambassador Zixthara sat in his command chamber aboard the Council monitoring station, studying the latest reports from their surveillance teams. What he read made no sense at all. "Show me the colony scans again," he ordered his aide, a young Nylari with nervous silver eyes. The holographic display activated, showing image after image of human colonies throughout their territory. Every single one showed the same thing: Empty buildings, powered-down facilities, and no signs of life. The humans had simply vanished. "Are you certain these readings are accurate?" Zixathara asked. "Yes, Ambassador," the aide replied. "We have checked the equipment multiple times. The colonies appear to be completely abandoned, but there are no signs of damage or forced evacuation. Everything was shut down in an orderly manner." This was not what the Council had expected. When species faced ultimatums from the Council, they usually responded in predictable ways. Some begged for mercy, others tried to negotiate for better terms, a few attempted to fight with whatever weapons they had, but none had ever simply disappeared. "What about their main worlds?" Zixthera asked. "Earth shows normal population readings, but they have stopped all external communications. Mars and the other core worlds are the same. We can detect life signs, but no one is responding to our messages." Zixthera's mandibles clicked with frustration. The humans were supposed to be panicking by now. They should be sending desperate messages, offering to surrender on whatever terms the Council demanded. Instead, they had gone completely silent. "Have our ships attempted to approach any of the human worlds?" "Yes, Ambassador. But something strange is happening. Our vessels encounter interference when they get within 1 light hour of any human territory. Navigation systems malfunction, communications are jammed, and sensor readings become unreliable. 3 of our scout ships had to return for repairs after their computer systems began failing." This was definitely not normal. The humans were barely 2 centuries into space travel. Their technology was primitive compared to most Council species. They should not have been capable of creating interference that could affect advanced Council ships. "What do our intelligence networks report?" The aide hesitated before answering. "That is another problem, Ambassador. Our usual sources of information have gone quiet. The trading posts that monitor human activity have stopped sending reports. The independent merchants who travel through human space have not returned from their scheduled routes. It is as if our entire intelligence network in that region has simply stopped working." Zixthara stood up and began pacing around his command chamber. In over 300 years of Council operations, he had never encountered anything like this. Species that were about to be conquered did not have the ability to hide their entire civilization. "Show me the movement patterns of their ships," he ordered. The display changed to show tracking data from the past 3 weeks. What it revealed was even more confusing. Human ships were moving throughout their territory in organized patterns, but they seemed to be traveling to systems that the Council's records showed as uninhabited or unexplored. "How many ships are they moving?" "We estimate at least 5,000 vessels of various sizes." "But Ambassador, that number seems too high. According to our intelligence, humanity only had approximately 800 ships total before the ultimatum." "Then where are the additional ships coming from?" "We do not know. Some of our observers report seeing human vessels of completely new designs, ships that do not match any known human construction patterns. But whenever we try to get closer readings, the ships disappear." Zixthera felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. This was starting to sound less like a primitive species in panic and more like a coordinated military operation. But that was impossible. Humans were newcomers to galactic civilization. They had no allies, no advanced technology, and no experience with large-scale space warfare. "Contact the Council High Command," he ordered. "Inform them that the human situation may be more complex than we initially assessed." While his aide sent the message, Zixthara continued studying the reports. There had to be a logical explanation for what was happening. Perhaps the humans had discovered some kind of natural phenomenon that they were using to hide their activities. Or maybe they had found alien technology that they did not understand how to use properly. The response from Council High Command came back within an hour. The message was brief and unsympathetic. "Continue monitoring. Report when humans surrender. Do not waste Council resources on paranoid speculation." Zixthara deleted the message with an angry gesture. The Council leadership was making the same mistake that had led to problems before. They were so convinced of their own superiority that they refused to consider that other species might be capable of surprising them. "Ambassador," his aide said urgently, "we are receiving reports from the outer monitoring posts. Several council member worlds are reporting unusual activity in their border regions." "What kind of activity?" "Unknown ships conducting what appear to be surveillance operations. The ships disappear before anyone can get close enough for identification, but the energy signatures are consistent with human technology." This was getting worse by the minute. If humans were conducting reconnaissance on Council worlds, it suggested they were planning some kind of military action. But what could they possibly hope to accomplish against 12 advanced civilizations? How far from human territory are these sightings occurring? Some are over 50 light-years away from the nearest human colony. "Ambassador, that should be impossible with their current FTL technology. Our calculations show that human ships cannot travel that far that quickly, unless their calculations were wrong." Zixthara began reviewing the intelligence files on human technology. Most of the information came from observations of their ships and colonies from a distance. The Council had never actually captured human technology for detailed study. They had assumed that any species so new to space travel must be using primitive systems. "Get me a direct communication link to Admiral Vrexhan on the battle fleet," Zixthara ordered. The Admiral appeared on the holographic display a few minutes later. He was a Krathan, a massive rock-like being whose species specialized in military operations. His voice sounded like boulders grinding together. "What do you want, Zixthara?" "My ships are ready to begin bombardment operations as soon as the deadline expires." "Admiral, I believe we may have underestimated the humans. Their behavior over the past 3 weeks suggests they may be planning some kind of resistance." The Admiral's laugh was like an avalanche. "Resistance? From a species that barely knows how to build starships? My fleet could destroy their entire civilization in a matter of days. Nevertheless, I recommend increased caution. The humans are not behaving as expected." "The humans are behaving exactly as I expected," Vrexhan replied. "They are hiding like frightened children, hoping we will go away. When the deadline expires, we will show them the price of defying the Council." The communication ended, leaving Zixthara alone with his doubts. Maybe the Admiral was right. Maybe the strange reports were just the result of a panicked species, trying desperately to find some way to avoid their fate. In 5 more days, the Council would have their answer. But as he looked at the latest surveillance reports, Zixthara could not shake the feeling that humanity was planning something. The question was what a primitive species could possibly do against the combined might of the Galactic Council. He was about to find out. Day 30 arrived with a message that changed everything. Secretary General Santos appeared on every Council communication channel simultaneously. She looked calm and professional, sitting at a simple desk with the Earth flag behind her. When she spoke, her voice carried no fear, no desperation, and no hint that she was about to surrender. "Ambassador Zixthara and honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, "Earth has considered your proposal carefully. After extensive discussion with our colonial governments and military leadership, we have reached a unanimous decision." Zixthara leaned forward in his command chair. Finally, the humans would accept reality and submit to Council authority. The past month of strange reports and mysterious activity would be explained as the panicked actions of a species trying to delay the inevitable. "We respectfully decline your terms," Santos continued. The ambassador's mandibles clicked in shock. Around him, his staff stopped what they were doing to stare at the holographic display. This was not what anyone had expected. "However," Santos said, "we would like to present a counter-proposal. The Council will immediately withdraw all ships from human space and issue a formal apology for this unprovoked threat against our people. In return, we will consider not taking action against Council member worlds." The silence in the command chamber was absolute. Then Zixthara began laughing, a harsh clicking sound that filled the room. The humans had clearly lost their minds. They were threatening the Council? A species with 800 primitive ships was making demands of 12 advanced civilizations? Furthermore, Santos said, we are transmitting coordinates to a neutral system where Council representatives can deliver their response. We will expect your answer within 24 hours. The message ended, leaving the Council forces staring at a set of star charts. The coordinates pointed to a system about 6 light hours away from Earth, one that Council records showed as uninhabited and worthless. Admiral Vrexhan contacted Zixathara within minutes of receiving the transmission. The Krathan Admiral was furious, his voice rumbling like an earthquake. "Did you hear what those insects just said to us?" he demanded. "They think they can threaten the Council. I want permission to begin bombardment immediately." "Admiral, perhaps. We should consider their request for a meeting," Zixathara said carefully. "A meeting? They just declared war on us. There is nothing to discuss except the terms of their surrender." But Zixathara was thinking about the past month of strange reports. The disappearing colonies, the unknown ships, the surveillance operations near Council worlds. What if the humans actually had some kind of plan? Send a battle group to those. Coordinates, he decided. We will show them what happens to species that threaten the Council. But Admiral, use caution. Something about this situation does not feel right. Vrexhan assembled the largest fleet in Council history for the demonstration. 300 ships from all 12 member species, carrying enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. They would find whatever pathetic force humanity had, manage to assemble and obliterate it completely. The fleet jumped to the coordinates and immediately began scanning for human ships. What they found waiting for them defied all logic and reason. Over 2,000 vessels hung in space around them. Ships of designs that no Council intelligence agency had ever seen before. They seemed to shift and flicker, as if they were not entirely present in normal space. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible for human technology. "Admiral," his sensor operator reported, "I am detecting ships with Vorthak stealth systems, ethereal energy cores, Nylari quantum drives, and Krathan armor plating. But the power signatures are all wrong. These systems are generating output levels far beyond their normal capabilities." Admiral Vrexhan stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "How did they get our technology?" Before anyone could answer, every human ship simultaneously locked weapons on the Council fleet. Warning alarms began blaring throughout the Krathan flagship as target acquisition sensors painted every Council vessel. A new voice came over the communication channels. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Council fleet, you are completely surrounded and outgunned. Shut down your weapons and prepare to receive our terms." "Outgunned?" Vrexhan roared. "We have 300 ships." "And we have 2,000, Chen replied calmly. "Ships equipped with the best technology from all 12 Council species, improved with human engineering. Would you like a demonstration?" One of the human vessels fired a single shot across the bow of the Council flagship. The beam cut through space and struck an asteroid several kilometers away. The rock simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even dust remained. "Our weapons are based on ethereal plasma technology," Chen explained, "but we have increased their efficiency by approximately 400%. Our shields combine Nylari quantum barriers with Krathan adaptive armor. Our engines use Vorthak, warp cores enhanced with human modifications that triple their speed and range." Zixathara felt his exoskeleton growing cold as he listened to the human admiral. This was impossible. How had they acquired Council technology? How had they improved it so dramatically in just 30 days? "You may be wondering how we obtained your technology," Chen continued, as if reading his thoughts. "The answer is simple. You gave it to us." The human admiral's image appeared on their screens. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes that showed no fear of the Council fleet surrounding him. "During your first contact with Earth, your ships connected to our communication networks to download our languages and cultural data." "What? you did not realize is that the connection worked both ways. While you were learning about humanity, we were copying every bit of data in your computers. The implications hit Zixthera like a physical blow. Every council ship that had ever made contact with humans had shared complete technical databases with Earth. Military secrets, technological specifications, manufacturing processes, everything. But that was just the beginning, Chen said. The real advantage was time. While your leaders assumed we were panicking and hiding, we were actually working. Human engineers had 30 days to study the technology of 12 different species and figure out how to make it better. Images began appearing on the council screens. Human shipyards working at impossible speeds. Factories producing new vessels using hybrid technologies. Engineers combining systems in ways that the original designers had never imagined. We also used that time to explore beyond our known territory, Chen continued. Your council has been so focused on controlling civilized space that you never bothered to properly map the outer regions. We found resources, established bases, and made contact with quite a few species that you have been ignoring. More images flashed across the screens, human ships meeting with dozens of alien species that the council had dismissed as primitive or worthless. Trade agreements being signed, technology being shared, alliances being formed. In fact, Chen said, about 40% of our current fleet consists of ships built by our new allies, species that the Council never bothered to contact because they seemed too small or too weak to be worth your attention. Admiral Vrexhan was staring at his tactical displays in growing horror. The human fleet was not just large, it was diverse, ships of unknown design mixed with improved versions of Council technology. Energy signatures that suggested weapons and defenses far beyond what any single species should have been able to develop. So here are our terms, Chen announced. The Council will withdraw from human space immediately. You will cease all aggressive actions against independent species, and you will acknowledge that your era of galactic domination is over. And if we refuse? Vrexhan managed to ask. Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then we will be forced to take more direct action. You see, Admiral, we have spent the past month doing more than just building ships. We have been visiting your home worlds, studying your defenses, and mapping your supply lines. If this fleet does not return with news of Council surrender, our other task forces will begin liberating your member species from your oppressive rule. The Council fleet found itself trapped in a nightmare. They had come to intimidate a primitive species and instead found themselves facing an enemy that had somehow become more powerful than they were in just 30 days. The humans had not just stolen Council technology, they had improved it, mass-produced it, and shared it with dozens of other species. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely, and the Council was on the wrong side. Admiral Vrexhan stared at the tactical display showing 2,000 human ships surrounding his fleet. His massive stone-like fingers gripped his command console so tightly that cracks appeared in the metal. "This is impossible," he growled. "No species develops this quickly. There must be some explanation." Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system again, calm and patient. "I can see you are having trouble accepting what you are seeing, Admiral. Would you like me to explain exactly how humanity accomplished this? I want to know how you gained access to classified Council technology," Vrexathara interrupted from his monitoring station. Chen's image appeared on their screens again. Behind him, they could see other humans working at control stations that clearly used technology from multiple Council species, all modified with additional human components. "Very well," Chen said. "Let me start from the beginning. When your ships first approached Earth, they automatically connected to our communication networks to download language and cultural data. This is standard procedure for first contact situations, and we did not resist the connection." He paused to let this sink in. "What your technicians did not realize is that our computer systems are designed very differently from yours. Council, Species tend to create isolated networks with strict security protocols. Human networks are designed to be interconnected and adaptive. When your system's connected to ours, they automatically shared access with our entire global network. Zixthara felt his mandibles clicking nervously. He remembered the technical briefings before first contact. The computer specialists had assured him that the connection was completely secure and one-way only. Within hours of first contact, human-computer experts had complete copies of every database in your ships. Chen continued. Technical specifications, star charts, political intelligence, military protocols, economic data, everything. We knew more about the Council than most Council species know about each other. The human admiral gestured to someone off-screen, and new images began appearing on the Council displays. Detailed technical drawings of Council ships, weapons, and equipment, manufacturing processes that were supposed to be state secrets, political documents that revealed the internal tensions between Council species. But having the information was only the first step, Chen said. The real breakthrough came when our engineers began studying your technology. You see, each Council species has developed along different paths. The Vorthak focused on stealth and infiltration. The Ethereals perfected energy manipulation. The Nylari mastered quantum mechanics. The Krathens specialized in defensive systems. Admiral Vrexhan recognized the truth in those words. The Council's strength had always come from combining the different specialties of its member species. Each race contributed their best technology to create systems that were superior to what any single species could build alone. The problem, Chen continued, is that your species have been working together for so long that you have stopped innovating. You combine existing technologies in predictable ways, but you do not create anything truly new. Humans, on the other hand, have a different approach to engineering. New images appeared showing human engineers working with alien technology, but instead of simply copying the designs, they were modifying them, combining systems in ways that the original creators had never considered. We took your stealth systems and asked, what if we made them work in reverse? Instead of hiding our ships, what if we made them appear to be in multiple locations at once? We took your energy weapons and asked, what if we fed them power from 3 different types of reactors simultaneously? We took your quantum drives and asked, what if we used them not just for faster travel, but for tactical teleportation during combat? The implications were staggering. The humans had not just stolen Council technology, they had reinvented it. Systems that had been perfected over centuries had been improved by a species that had been in space for less than 200 years. Of course, building new ships was only part of the solution, Chen said. We also needed time and resources. That is where our diplomatic efforts became important. The display changed to show star charts of the local galactic region. Red dots marked Council territories. Blue dots showed human colonies, and green dots indicated dozens of other species scattered throughout the area. While the Council has been focused on controlling the 12 most advanced species in this region, you have ignored dozens of smaller civilizations. The Karathi survivors who escaped when you destroyed their home world. The Velian refugees who fled from your work camps, independent colonies that rejected Council authority, nomadic traders who value freedom over security. Each green dot on the map was connected to human space by glowing lines, showing a network of alliances that spanned half the galaxy. We contacted all of them, Chen explained. We offered them something the Council never did, partnership instead of domination. We shared our improved technology freely in exchange for resources, manufacturing capacity, and strategic cooperation. Zixthara realized with growing horror that the humans had built an entire shadow civilization while the Council was waiting for their surrender. Dozens of species working together, sharing technology and resources, united by their opposition to Council rule. The result, Chen said, is what you see around you, a fleet that combines the best technology from 12 different Council species, improved with human innovation, and built by dozens of allied civilizations that the Council dismissed as insignificant. Admiral Vrexhan activated his tactical systems and began analyzing the human ships more carefully. The readings confirmed his worst fears. These were not primitive vessels with stolen technology. They were completely new designs that used familiar components in ways that pushed them far beyond their original capabilities. Even if what you say is true, Vrexhan said, you still face 12 entire civilizations. This fleet may be impressive, but the Council has thousands of ships and billions of citizens. Chen's smile became even less pleasant. Admiral, this is only one of our fleets. During the past 30 days, we have been very busy. Would you like to see what our other task forces have been doing? New images appeared on the Council screens. Human ships arriving at Council member worlds, but not as invaders. Instead, they were being welcomed by crowds of celebrating citizens. Council military bases were being evacuated without a fight. Government buildings were being occupied by local populations waving flags that showed symbols of independence. It turns out, Chen explained, that many citizens of Council worlds are not happy with their governments. When we shared the political intelligence we downloaded from your databases, quite a few species discovered that their leaders had been lying to them about the benefits of Council membership. The images showed chaos throughout Council territory. On Vorthak worlds, citizens were demanding to know why their government had supported the destruction of the Karathi home world. On ethereal planets, protests were erupting over revelations about the treatment of conquered species. On Nylari colonies, strikes were shutting down military production facilities. We did not invade Council space, Chen said. We simply provided information that your own governments had been hiding from your people. The revolutions are entirely homegrown. Zixthara watched in stunned silence as his civilization collapsed around him. The political intelligence that the humans had stolen was being used to turn Council species against their own governments. Secrets that had been carefully hidden for centuries were now being broadcast to every citizen in Council space. So you, see, Chen concluded, this confrontation is not between humanity and the Council. It is between the old way of doing things and a new approach to galactic civilization. An approach based on cooperation instead of domination, innovation instead of stagnation, and freedom instead of control. Admiral Vrexhan looked around his command bridge at his officers. Most of them were staring at the displays showing the collapse of their home governments. A few were quietly discussing whether they should return to defend their worlds or surrender to the humans. What do you want from us? Vrexhan asked finally. Nothing complicated, Chen replied. Surrender your weapons, return to Council space, and tell your governments that their era of galactic domination is over. A new alliance is forming, one that welcomes all species as equal partners. Your people can join us as friends, or they can remain isolated as the galaxy moves forward without them. The choice was clear. The Council could accept that their time was over, or they could fight a war they could not win against an enemy that had already defeated them without firing a shot. Vrexhan began giving orders to shut down his ship's weapons systems. The age of the Galactic Council was ending, and the age of humanity was just beginning. 6 months after the Council fleet surrendered at the coordinates humanity had provided, the galaxy was completely different. Ambassador Zixthara stood at the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Earth, watching ships from dozens of species come and go in peaceful commerce. The station itself was a marvel of the new cooperative technology that had emerged from human leadership. Vorthak stealth systems kept it hidden from hostile forces. Ethereal energy cores provided unlimited power. Nylari quantum communications allowed instant contact with worlds across the galaxy. But all of these technologies had been improved with human innovations that made them work better than their creators had ever imagined. Hard to believe how much has changed, said a voice behind him. Zixthara turned to see Captain Sarah Martinez, the human liaison assigned to help former Council officials adjust to the new galactic order. She was young by human standards, but Her eyes held the confidence of someone who had been part of something historic.
6 months ago, my people controlled half the galaxy, Zixathera said quietly. Now we are refugees asking for asylum.
Not refugees, Martinez corrected gently. Citizens of the new Galactic Cooperation Initiative. Your people chose to join us rather than fight against the inevitable changes. That took wisdom and courage. Zixathera's mandibles clicked in what might have been bitter laughter. Wisdom? We had no choice. 3 of our member species had already withdrawn from the Council. Our homeworlds were in revolution. Our military was refusing to follow orders. We surrendered because we had already lost. That was true enough. The political intelligence that humans had shared with Council citizens had destroyed the governments that had ruled for centuries. When people learned that their leaders had lied about the benefits of Council membership, had hidden the true costs of their galactic domination, and had committed atrocities against innocent species, the revolutions had been swift and decisive. Your people made the smart choice, Martinez said. Look at what happened to the species that tried to fight against the changes. Through the observation windows, they could see a Krathan transport ship docking with the station. 6 months ago, the Krathan had been one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Now they were ferrying refugees from worlds that had chosen to resist the new order. The Krathan government had refused to accept the end of Council rule. They had tried to maintain control through military force, using their advanced weapons to crush the independence movements on their worlds. For a few weeks it had seemed like they might succeed. Then the human task forces had arrived. The humans had not conquered Krathan space through superior firepower, though their improved weapons could have done so. Instead, they had used the same approach that had toppled the rest of the Council: information and alliance building. Human ships had appeared in Krathan space carrying not weapons, but refugees. Karathi survivors who had been thought dead for decades. Velian families who had escaped from Council work camps. Members of dozens of species that the Krathan military had oppressed over the centuries. These refugees had not come to fight. They had come to talk. To tell their stories to Krathan citizens who had never heard the truth about what their government had done in their name. To show them recordings of the atrocities committed by Krathan forces on distant worlds. Within weeks, Krathan military units were refusing orders to suppress demonstrations. Krathan citizens were demanding the resignation of their government. Krathan colonies were declaring independence and requesting protection from the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. The Krathan leadership had finally surrendered when their own military officers arrested them for war crimes. The Nilari integration has been much smoother, Martinez observed, pointing to a group of silver-skinned aliens working alongside humans at one of the docking bays. That was true. The Nilari had been the first Council species to formally withdraw from the Alliance and petition to join the Cooperation Initiative. Their quantum technology had made them valuable partners, and their scientists had been eager to work with human engineers on new innovations. The Nilari were always the most pragmatic of the Council species, Zixathera admitted. They saw which way the wind was blowing and adjusted accordingly. What he did not say was that the Nilari had also been the first to realize that human technology was not just copied from Council databases. The improvements and innovations were genuine breakthroughs that opened up possibilities none of the Council species had imagined. Human engineers had taken Nilari quantum drives and figured out how to use them for instantaneous communication across galactic distances. They had combined ethereal energy weapons with Vorthak stealth technology to create ships that could strike from impossible angles. They had merged Krathan defensive systems with alien materials to build armor that could withstand weapons that had never existed before. "What about your own people?" Martinez asked. "How are the Vorthak adjusting to the new situation?" Zixathera considered his answer carefully. The Vorthak had been the political leaders of the Council, the species that had orchestrated most of the expansion and conquest over the past centuries. When their role in council atrocities had been revealed, they had faced the harshest criticism from other species. "Many of my people are struggling with guilt," he said finally. "We convinced ourselves that we were bringing order and peace to the galaxy. Learning the truth about what we actually accomplished has been difficult." That was an understatement. When Vorthak's citizens had learned about the genocide of the Karathi, the enslavement of the Velians, and the dozens of other atrocities committed in their name, the psychological impact had been devastating. Suicide rates had spiked. Mental health facilities had been overwhelmed. Entire communities had fallen into collective depression. But gradually, with help from human counselors and support from other species, the Vorthak were beginning to heal. They were learning to accept responsibility for their past actions while working to build a better future. "Guilt can be useful," Martinez said, "if it motivates people to do better. Your people have skills and knowledge that the galaxy needs. The question is whether they will use those abilities to help build something better than what came before." Through the observation windows, they could see the daily miracle of the new galactic civilization. Ships from species that had been enemies for centuries were docking side by side. Traders who had never been allowed to leave their home systems were exploring markets across the galaxy. Scientists from dozens of worlds were collaborating on projects that no single species could have accomplished alone. "How did you do it?" Zixathera asked suddenly. "How did humans accomplish in 6 months what the Council could not do in 1,000 years?" Martinez smiled. "We did not try to rule the galaxy. We tried to serve it." She gestured toward the bustling docking bays and communication centers around them. The Council's approach was to impose order from above, make the rules, enforce compliance, punish resistance. It worked for a while, but it was fundamentally unstable because it depended on keeping people ignorant and afraid. "And your approach? Share. Information freely. Offer help without demanding payment. Treat other species as equals rather than subjects. Build networks based on mutual benefit rather than hierarchical control." It sounded simple when she said it, but Zixathera knew it was. Anything but easy. Creating a voluntary alliance of dozens of species with different cultures, technologies, and goals required a level of diplomatic skill that the Council had never developed. The key insight, Martinez continued, was that most species want the same basic things: security for their worlds, prosperity for their people, and the freedom to develop according to their own values. The Council offered security and prosperity, but only in exchange for giving up freedom. We offer all three. A chime sounded through the station, announcing the arrival of another ship. This one carried the distinctive markings of the Ethereal Collective, the philosophical descendants of the original Ethereal Council members who had embraced the new cooperative model. "I should go," Martinez said. "The Ethereals are here for the weekly coordination meeting. We are planning the next phase of exploration into the outer galactic regions." As she left, Zixathera remained at the observation window, watching the constant flow of ships and people that represented the new galactic order. It was chaotic compared to the rigid structure of the old Council system, but it was also dynamic and growing in ways that the Council had never managed. His personal communicator chimed with a message from his home world. The new Vorthak government was requesting his assistance with a diplomatic mission to contact isolated species in the far reaches of Vorthak space, species that the old Council had ignored because they offered no strategic value. Zixathera smiled as he composed his acceptance. 6 months ago, he had been an ambassador for a dying empire. Now he had the chance to be part of something that was just beginning to grow. The humans had not just defeated the Galactic Council, they had replaced it with something better, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was moving toward a future that offered hope instead of fear. Outside the station windows, ships from 100 worlds continued their peaceful journeys through space that was finally free.